Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to Stately Von Manor, where Roger and I have returned because it's Wednesday. And that means it's Epic Comic Book Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I'll talk about a certain comic book, graphic novel, or comic book subject. Steve Donoghue on his channel will talk about the same comic book, graphic novel, or comic book subject. It is our world's finest team up that we do once a week. And this week, Roger, it's going to be a short one. It's going to be an abbreviated Epic Comic Book Wednesday because I don't have a lot of time. I'm recording this before I go to work. But I wanted to get this out because it's one of my very favorite comic books from when I was a kid. You know, when I was a kid, buying comic books in the early 80s and into the mid 80s, this was one of those comic books that I would always look forward to. I'd always buy it. If a new one came out and I came home with my little stack of 5 or 6 comic books, it's probably what I was going to read first because I really enjoyed this comic book. And I thought of this because recently I started on a series of videos, my Bookshelf Essentials, and which is based on a series of videos done by the great David Wiley. And I was thinking, well, what's essential on my comic book bookshelf? What's absolutely essential? Well, everything, as it turns out. But this one is one of the few comic books that I have left on my bookshelf that is actually still a Marvel Essential Edition. And these Marvel Essentials, they came out back in the late 90s, early 2000s. They might have started in the early 2000s. It's been a while. I can't remember for sure. But they were really cheap reprints. This one came out in 2002. But they were really cheap reprints of old Marvel comics. And they were all done in black and white. They were really fat. They had a bunch of issues in each Epic collection. But yeah, they were all in black and white on sheet newsprint paper. Back in the day, back in these olden days of the early 2000s, if you wanted to read these old Marvel comics, you either had to buy back issues or get expensive Marvel Masterworks editions if they were in there, or get these cheapy essential volumes. And you'll still find these around. Although some of them are commanding high prices for some reason. But you'll still find some of these around. And they have been replaced by Marvel Epic Collections, the full color reprint line. And I think that was a good choice. The Marvel Epic Collections, of course, are my favorite thing. But I still have this Essential Edition of Marvel Team Up, one of my favorite comics from when I was a kid. And it is exactly what it says on the title. Every issue, Spider-Man, usually it was Spider-Man. Every issue, Spider-Man pretty much would team up with somebody else from the Marvel Universe, some other Marvel superhero. And so it turned out that Spider-Man met literally everybody. Every hero that existed in the Marvel Universe, I think Spider-Man must have met them. Because he was teaming up with, he would just run across them. Literally, he would just run across them in the street. Hey, it's Thor hanging out there. Hey, Thor, you want to have an adventure? They would have an adventure because something would happen and they would have to team up. It was awesome. It was tremendous fun. And it was a great way to be introduced perhaps to characters that you didn't know too much about. Very often you didn't want to know too much about these characters. And sometimes you have the great fun of watching Spider-Man team up with some of your favorite characters like Captain America and the Human Torch and the Hulk. It was awesome. Started off in the early 70s. I believe the first issue of Marvel Team Up came out in 1972. It was followed up by another Team Up book, actually, Marvel 2-in-1, which teamed up the Thing with other characters from the Marvel Universe because the team up concept was tremendously popular. The Thing, very popular character, not as popular as Spider-Man, but very popular. So you got Marvel 2-in-1. You'll notice that this actually is an epic collection, a full color epic collection. It's really nice, which is one of the mysteries I'm going to bring up in this video right now, because it is a mystery. Marvel Team Up was one of the most popular Marvel comic books for a while. But there are no Marvel Team Up epic collections. There are no Marvel Team Up omnibus volumes. And I can't figure out why. I mean, they've literally done epic collections for like they've done it for everybody. Even Marvel 2-in-1 has an epic collection. And they're doing another one. We're getting a volume 2 of this fairly soon. Marvel Team Up, as far as I've heard, and I keep track of these things, there's no Marvel Team Up volume on the horizon. And I wonder why, because that's a mystery. There should be a Marvel Team Up epic collection. There should be a big fat Marvel Team Up omnibus. I can't figure out why there isn't one. It's really strange. And I thought maybe it was because of a rights issue. Maybe there are characters in here that Marvel doesn't own anymore. But this has the first 24 issues of Marvel Team Up, and I didn't see any characters in here that they don't own. And even if it was a licensing issue, they could just skip an issue. They've done that before in other collected editions, where there's a character that pops up that they no longer have the rights to. But I think these are all Marvel characters, at least. So they could at least do the first Marvel Epic Collection at least. Marvel Team Up Epic Collection. I don't know why they haven't. It's a mystery. It boggles my mind. And so I continue to hold on to this old Marvel Essential volume just so I could, return to these stories and read them again. And they were a lot of fun. This series started off with Spider-Man and the Human Torch. Spider-Man and the Human Torch, both young heroes, so it made sense to bring them together. It was always fun whenever they met each other in the Marvel Universe. And so the first 3 issues actually were Spider-Man and the Human Torch teaming up. And then Spider-Man met the X-Men, and then Spider-Man met a bunch of other characters. Some obscure characters. Now, like, who did he meet in here? He met the Human Torch a few times, but he also, he teamed up with the Cat. The Cat, unfortunately, you can't see that well because this is a black and white volume, unfortunately. But he also, I think the last character he teams up with in this volume, who's the last character he teams up with? It's Brother Voodoo, right? Yeah, he teams up with Brother Voodoo, who is a favorite of mine, but perhaps not a character many people are familiar with nowadays. I don't know, Brother Voodoo. A lot of fun characters from the 1970s in these old issues, which is one of the reasons that they should be reprinted, because they were awesome and a lot of fun. And it's a mystery. Why do I still have this Essential volume? Why don't I have... Marvel's usually good at this. This is usually something I complain about with DC Comics, whose reprint program sucks ass. But Marvel's usually great. They reprint literally everything. We're getting a Micronauts omnibus, for crying out loud, which is great, but it's not something you would expect them to reprint. We're getting ROM in a couple months, but Marvel Team Up? Where is it? Where's my Marvel Team Up Epic Collection? I'm annoyed by this. But so among my Epic collections, this is just hanging out there. But the stories are actually tremendously entertaining. They're just fun action-packed stories where Spider-Man just, I mean, the adventures Spider-Man has. How did he ever have a normal life at all? I mean, how did he even keep his job as a photographer? He was so busy literally all the time. Gets transported to other worlds, gets transported to alternate futures. He ran into Killraven. I mean, he had to meet everybody, literally. Everybody in the Marvel Universe, Spider-Man met. And it was awesome. I can't remember when the last issue of Marvel Team Up came out. I don't know why they ever stopped this comic book. This comic book was great. And it was one of the comic books I really looked forward to and always enjoyed reading. A lot of great creators. In this one, we've got Gary Conway, Len Wein, Gil Kane does a lot of work in here. Ross Andrew, and a bunch of others. So it's cool. It's cool stuff. It's Marvel Team Up. Where's my Epic collection? Okay, I gotta go. I gotta go to work. Will catch you next time.